need meet up our needs, consumption, we can export some food grain to other countries. Yes, it is very true. But do you know uh, which agricultural crop earn the biggest foreign money? No rice, no wheat, no other anyone. Though in comparison to other agricultural products, it is limited, but it earns a huge amount of foreign money. Mm, do you know uh, why tea is important to us? You can remember previously when I was in childhood, uh, my parents used to say, "Don't take tea; your liver will be damaged." And there are some considerations that who will take much of tea, মুখে যাওয়া ছেলে. But after that decade, when we know that there are some beneficiary effects of tea, researchers are being interested to look up these things. What is that? Uh, to, 2014, L-thiamine was reported in Indian Medical Journal by Professor Sengupta from APC Medical College, Kolkata. According to him, L-thiamine in a cup of black tea, it contained 20 microgram of L-thiamine in a black tea. Mind that, never use milk or sugar. Milk and sugar may uh, uh, destroy the ability of less beneficial effect of tea. That L-thiamine is an alkaloid which can reduce Alzheimer's disease up to 80%. Not my, uh, yeah. I just quote Dr. Sengupta's report in Indian Medical Journal 2014. He claimed that if you consume at least 10 to 12 cups of tea, obviously black tea, without sugar and milk, you can resist some brain disorder disease like Alzheimer's or others. That's why tea is somehow important. Today's health beneficial effect, after knowing the health beneficial effect to the today's generation. And that's why tea is not the only thing. Tea is the only drinking beverage that is second largest beverage drinking after water. Please mind it. After water, and one thing is more important, that tea doesn't need any promotional package. We consume it by our habit always. Uh, if you look that tea is consumed and tea marketed like these in whole around across the world. And what are the health beneficial component of tea? Just in a nutshell, consumption of tea has become correlated with some chronic pathological disorder and oxidative stress. Obviously, stress release tea is a good thing of stress release, and somehow cardiovascular disease, and to some extent anti-carcinoma also. There is a debate which tea is important, black, green, or other tea. In 2018, we had a publication there, American Journal of Plant Science. We claim that obviously in black tea, we have the antioxidant qualities too much high, but there are some negative side of black tea, some cardiovascular disorders, some blood pressure may increase after consuming so much of green tea. Green tea is, in my conception, green tea is just like a business strategy. As because green tea production cost is somehow lesser. Obviously, I cannot deny the green positive side of green tea. There are much more antioxidants, but there are some hazardous things in green tea. Over the recommendation of WHO, magnesium is much more in green tea that can damage our liver. That's why better is black tea. One type of tea is there that is the ultimate tea, that is white tea, but we cannot afford. As because for experimental use, we brought white tea. 1 gram of white tea is 7,000. White tea made up of only that part that doesn't chlorophyll. That is white tea. That is beyond our reach. That's why better. I personally feel that black tea is much better than green tea. If you consume green tea for some reduce of your whole body weight, etc., you can, but not much more. Anyhow, tea production in 1988, from that graph, you can easily find that highest tea production was in India in 1988. But after 20 years, it comes down to almost half to China. That is not because of the Indian disability to produce more tea. That is much more credibility to China. They have produced more tea by increase their tea garden, etc. And tea polyphenol, including epigallocatechin gallate, has been found to be responsible for more health promoting ability like vis-a-vis. And tea, India obviously is a very good promoter of tea, good producer, good exporter also. But main competitor of Indian tea is Kenya. Kenya sometimes lag behind, sometimes go forward from the Indian market. Mostly, India export or consume Assam tea. Why? Assam tea is such a tea that production of Assam tea is much bigger amount than the flavored Darjeeling tea. My research domain almost restricted to Darjeeling tea for its unique flavor and liquor also. But Assam tea is always known to us that Assam tea is much more known for their liquor. And in foreign country, the production export quantity of Assam tea is very bigger amount than the Darjeeling tea, but the foreign money earning in terms of foreign money, Darjeeling tea earns much more from the Assam tea. In top 10 producing countries, China, India is as 2020, India is second best tea producing country, but the exporting country, Kenya defeated India there. Kenya exports much more than the Indian one. Here is a chart of world production of tea and world export of tea in million kg. You find that in China, 2015 and 2019, the difference is much bigger, 22 to 27. But India, 12 to 13. That means China far ahead from the Indian tea market. Tea normally Camellia sinensis is the scientific name of tea. There are two varieties, mainly two varieties, and another one compound varieties also. But mainly two varieties. One is Ashamika and one is Chinese. By name, you can easily understand that Chinensis is originated from China, but Ashamika, Camellia chinensis variety Ashamika. This is a variety of another tea. It is from indigenously from Assam. That is now it is also debatable as because China has claimed that Ashamika also their indigenous one. That is debatable. Now, how Dr. Pathak in forenoon told us that there are inevitable uh, criteria and inevitable influence of climate change on each agricultural crop. Tea is one of them. Scientists are working how to improve the varietal quality to overcome the black shadow of climate change. Mm, there is some hope that tea probably does not have so much will not be so much hampered with the excess carbon dioxide in climate. That that is experimentally proved. The climate has increased their carbon dioxide in last 100 years. It's extreme. Almost 415 ppm increasing in carbon dioxide in air in last 100 years. That is in history. And there is a chart that in India, how much tea produced from eastern side or in other part of the country. Obviously, eastern India is enriched with the tea much more than the South Indian part. Environmental fluctuation due to global climate change are influencing the production and quality of tea, altering their favorable range of growth conditions. Tea growth condition of tea it can exist grow in everywhere, but the quality of tea obviously matters. Interestingly, having a long lifespan over 150 years and growing in diverse ecological conditions, tea plant represents an ideal model for harboring climate change adaptation as well. That means I want to say that if we assess the ecophysiology of tea plants, you can somehow predict the effect of climate change in particularly in tea. As because the dense greenery always absorbs atmospheric carbon dioxide much more than the other vegetation. And after assimilation of that carbon dioxide, what is there? There is an experiment in ecological indicator that two varieties of tea plants have taken, but in different ages, 7 years and 27 years. It is found that 7 years old tea variety have much less carbon assimilation potentiality than the 27 years. That means I want to say that their maturity it matters to how much amount of carbon dioxide assimilate within the leaf in their photosynthetic pathway. You know that photosynthesis depends on several physiological, anatomical parameters of the leaf itself. Uh, Sunlight, and carbon dioxide get entered through the stomata. There's a pore, that stomata, after capturing these two, there is a big physiological chain of reaction to produce the photosynthesis. That means capturing of CO2 is dependent primarily on that pore, how many stomata are there and how they efficiently work there. That means stomatal indices. There is the stomatal index is nothing, is a fraction of an equation of how many stomata and how many other epidermal cells in a unit area. The function of that is called stomatal index. Stomatal index is how in straightway correlate with the accumulation of carbon dioxide. This graph depicts the 30 days interval data, and that graph depicts the cumulative carbon accumulation data. Here we found that at maturity, the potentiality of carbon accumulation is much higher than the younger one. From earlier some equation, we can easily measure how much carbon dioxide accumulated in the tea leaf, where that equation is in 1986 and that equation is 1999. From using those two equations, we derive this one, that carbon accumulation is equal to 0.228 into B, where B is the number of branches, some amount into P, where P is plucking point density. Plucking point density, what is it?